Growing up, it was just me and my big brother who was always messing with my dolls. One day he pulls the head off my Barbie and I'm mad. Now he promised to fix it, but I was still mad. I went on and on about the countless number of toys and things of mine he had broken over the years. I was ranting about how big brothers are pretty much demons who care nothing for little sisters because of all the devilish things he had done in the past. As he frantically looked for a fix to my doll, he reminded me of his Stretch Armstrong figure that I poked a hole in to see what made it mushy and stretchy. And I was about to go into full denial when my granny walked in and asked, "How long y'all gonna sit there and argue about who shot John?" Of course, we're both confused. Who is John? Who shot what? Her answer, exactly. She went on to teach me one of the most valuable lessons I would ever learn. You can continue to argue about your current situation, or you can work together to fix your current situation. Now, I always knew that the who shot John lesson would be relevant, so I kept it tucked away, waiting for a time to inspire my own children, and it worked well for me then. This lesson will also prove useful while helping my hometown, Gainesville, Florida, home of the Fighting Gators, create partnership and dialogue to promote collaborations to address problems facing our communities. We've played Who Shot John for decades when it comes to the University of Florida. And before any type of reconciliation can be done, understand that truth has to come first. And the truth of the matter is, for decades, there's been a rift between the University of Florida and a large number of Gainesville neighbors, particularly those of us from historical African-American communities in close proximity to the school. Our communities have gone through significant changes in the past 20 years. In the Pleasant Street and Seminary Lane districts, we've watched the character change as wealthy developers come in and remove single-family homes, replacing with luxury student developments. That's great for attracting new businesses, but it displaces the current residents in the process. And in the past, communities like the Porter's neighborhood near Tumbling Creek were historical African-American communities whose residents were mainly professionals and employees of the university. People who have lived their entire lives in these communities can no longer afford the cost of living here any longer. Businesses are being built to accommodate students without any consideration for schools and stores that could still serve the families that are holding on to their properties. This is the reason why the world's view of the University of Florida and the community's view of the University of Florida are polar opposites. The U.S. News and World Report ranked the University of Florida as the top 6 public university now. We think of our sports teams as number 1, win or lose. Our students that help build capacity in various nonprofits, local governments, that's what makes us number 1. Our researchers that help make our medical programs top rated, that is what makes us number 1. Those who are affected the most by the University of Florida's growth have a very different overall perspective of the school. Some didn't even think we deserved number 6. And when the ratings came out, who shot John conversations resurfaced. Oh, we pointed the finger at the University of Florida for the rapid growth and the lack of investment to compensate for tax-exempted property owned by the University of Florida. And then the city points the finger at the state because certain state laws restrict taxing institutions such as the University of Florida. States provide no additional supports to college towns who experience issues. And developers point the finger at the community. Some are criticized for cashing in on family wealth. Others are blamed for not having the resources to maintain failing housing infrastructure and rising property taxes. Community points the finger back at developers for even building in these historical Black communities. I even point my finger at ineffective and underfunded programs that are intended to, but do not assist families in maintaining generational wealth through home ownership. And we are all justified in our thinking. The problem is, who shot John, finger pointing, has only worked to keep us stagnant, to keep us divided, to keep us marginalized and gentrified. We can move past who shot John. Oh, the university can grow in tandem with the community and not on top of it. Let's start first by recognizing and acknowledging publicly that the University of Florida is indeed growing faster than the original communities can sustain. We have to be clear about what gentrification is and what it looks like locally. I remember attending a meeting at Innovation Square. Innovation Square is steps away from the University of Florida, serves as a hub for software developers, tech companies, engineers, and such, and it's surrounded by luxury student housing. I was speaking with a colleague, and we were giving our input on affordable housing issues when gentrification was mentioned. A facilitator of that meeting expressed how wonderful he thought it was that he had been in Gainesville for 2 years and hadn't seen any sign of gentrification. My colleague and I both laughed a little. How ironic that we would be sitting in a building that overlooked what used to be the Portis community, a thriving, working class, African-American community. Now, this does not mean that the University of Florida has no value here in Gainesville. Oh, no. There are huge values to housing the top 6 public university in your city. We have the huge value of having access to top-notch medical research, as COVID has shown us. Nonprofits have the huge value of building capacity with graduate interns. Well, all we have going for us, it should be no problem helping President Fox in his commitments to our community and reaching the top 5. One of the ways that we can do this is to change the reputation of the University of Florida as it pertains to how it's embedded in the community. UNC Chapel Hill stood out to me because of the way it's embedded in the fiber of Chapel Hill. The college, along with Duke University and North Carolina State, has figured out that the best way to grow is with their community, not on top of them, become embedded in their processes. They've learned the value of investing in the community through nonprofits such as the Marion Cheek Jackson Center, Durham congregations, associations, and neighborhoods, helping them to address issues like housing, economic development, and equity. Programs like the Summer of Service program, which teaches rural Carolina communities to grow and sustain food, or the Pink STEAM program, which invests in STEM education for girls K through 8, or the Tools for Change, which engages faculty and staff in a transformative understanding of race, racism, and racial equality. All of this changes the culture of the community, and since it's been done before, we can use UNC Chapel Hill as an example to visualize our success doing the same. Instead of being hung up on what the state will not allow, it is the University of Florida's due diligence to our community to find ways to invest. Continue building the partnerships. The community, we have to do our part too. We should be the ones to spearhead this change to ensure that equity is embedded in all they do. We have to have viable plans and strategies for our communities that the university can support. Our elected officials, city government, they should be the conduit to facilitate this change. When we work together with our community to strategically plan how to address social issues, we create the synergy that leads to unity. Involving the University of Florida in these conversations and actions could help to bolster our ranking and develop a community-driven model that can be used by other college towns that experience the same things that we do. I have the privilege to be in a position to help facilitate this change. Long before the COVID-19 pandemic and the public commitment from the University of Florida, I've been moving towards partnership and away from protests with the University of Florida. And I am not alone. Opportunities are being created as we speak for collaborations to happen. Two major movements are the Partnership for Reimagining Gainesville and the First Community Development Corporation. The first is the City of Gainesville partnership with the University of Florida to bring investment to community-driven solutions. Carissa Raskin, the collaborative specialist for the City of Gainesville, and Andrew Tejas, the director of collaborative initiatives for the University of Florida, work with community advisors such as myself to remove barriers to accessing these funds. And First Community Development Corporation is a community-owned development company. We will work to create programs that address housing, education, and economic development with equity embedded in them. If you want to be empowered, if you want to empower others, those are the perfect opportunities. And right now is the perfect time. And if I leave you with anything, I want you to understand this, that the University of Florida is not just in Gainesville. The University of Florida is one of the biggest parts of Gainesville. The best energy that we could spend will be to ensure that we have the very best partnerships and collaborations built so that we can turn the city's greatest asset into a fountain of hope flowing into every part of our community. Let's make sure that our children are not here 20 years from now still debating about who shot John.